All right, Mark. Well, where did we lose? Lad. Lad. We lost the lad.
I'll just say enjoy.
Okay. Thank you. So, Mark, what did you think about the stuff? Are you familiar with Pulumi?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used it for anything. I'm also, I'm familiar with Kubernetes. I've used that.
Yes.
I put a couple comments in the chat that it's so great and so bad. It's like it's as good as it is bad to me.
Kubernetes.
Like it's so capable, do stuff so much, and it's so painful, and it's so amazing. But oh my god, my bones break every time I use it. It's both sides completely.
I actually remember the moment I was sitting in the office a couple of years ago. I was sitting with a lab, which is also kind of a new WingCloud member, core team member, and not the same lab. And I remember the second when I told him when I understood what is Kubernetes. I said, "Oh, this is awesome! This is great." Then 3-4 years later, I said, "Oh my God, what's going on here? Who's responsible for all these YAML files? Who's responsible for all these changes? What's going on?" It's crazy. It has both sides. You kind of explain it. It's both amazing and also very, very hard.
Yep.
So what do you have us for the changelog?
I have a changelog. That's what I have.
Interesting. So you want us to put the changelog on screen?
Sure. Are you gonna show the? Okay, I thought you were gonna show that intro that I saw.
The intro.
Oh, there's an intro.
So that's
you don't have to.
No, that's what I'll do. Let's do the changelog.
Okay, you're gonna do the. Okay, go for it, man.
You ready for this?
I'm ready. Gorgeous.
I really set up the moment.
Yeah. So, okay, changelog. Let's do it. I did a little more prep this time. I really just used this as an excuse to use something called slide dev, which lets me make the slides in Markdown and in Vue components. Turns out that takes a lot longer, especially if I haven't written Vue a Vue thing in 4 years. So, oops. But here we are.
Okay.
So I also don't know what this is called. It's a changelog. So let's do it. I'll start off with a change from the community. Marcio added these changes the last 2 weeks, by the way, I believe, or however long it's been since the last weekly or wingly.
2 weeks.
Added the ability to do deep equality for a lot of our structural types, or collection types. So arrays and maps and JSON and structs as well. I didn't show structs here. But yeah, these types now have the ability to deeply, when you do double equals, that's inherently a deep equality check now.
I love the 1 plus 2 second example.
It's ironclad proof. This is end-to-end testing at work. Now you know it works. This is induction, actually. If it works for these two numbers, it works for all of them. Wow. I promise. Except max int +1, I guess. But we have not tested what happens with integer overflow. Anyway, so that's Marcio's chains. It's great.
Awesome. Great.
Another piece of the puzzle.
Yep.
Next up, a change from Suf. We have datetime, both the type and utilities around it. I put up the the methods on a datetime object plus some of the static functions associated with the type.
Interesting.
It's one of those things where it's this is kind of fundamentally important, but we have 1,000 of those things, so it's hard to even list all of the little fundamentally important things that come out. But here's one. Super glad to have it. Can you tell that I did unnecessary work? Can you see it? Is it obvious that I did completely unnecessary things?
I'm not looking at anything else. I'm looking just at the log and then the output of the log.
Really, the content of the slides is unnecessary.
And the moment you said, I also listed the function. Basically, what happened to my eyes? I looked about. Oh, there's also functions here. I only looked about this, and it's beautiful. It's not unnecessary. It's exactly the moment.
It's worth mentioning that there's a datetime type.
Yeah, like this. So this is I believe this is this is the type.
Right.
like, and this is the methods for an instance, and this is like this UTC now is a function on that. Yeah, it's because she added the whole thing. We didn't have anything date time. We only had durations. Now we have everything.
Interesting.
So next up, performance change from Yoav on the team.
Oh, nice.
For JSII loading, we had a for larger JSII libraries, it took a long time to load some of the types available in that library, and we were doing it every compilation. But we could optimize that by changing the way, like the format that JSON was loaded from into a binary format. And we went from about 4 minutes for an uncached read to, I believe, this 700 milliseconds to a read from a CDKTF, which is a pretty large. It's one of the larger ones that you'll commonly use for JSI loading. So pretty huge difference. Listen, did you want me to spend 3 more hours configuring this chart library to add units to this? Because I'll do it. Don't threaten me with a good time.
What's the?
It's beautiful. It's actually beautiful.
I don't understand. I don't understand the turtle. I understand the turtle. And then cached.
It is in minutes, which actually made what I said inaccurate. It's not 700. It's not. This is not 700 milliseconds. But
it is.
It is.
Or
it's not in minutes. It's not in minutes.
700 milliseconds. We're not.
Oh, sorry, it's in seconds. Okay, listen, guys, move on.
Seconds.
Maybe you should add. Maybe you should add.
Why are we hearing the voice? You're not.
Add a lot to the middle of the screen, please.
Let's add a lot here. Okay, now we have.
I'm gonna be like the invisible voice,
like the Muppets, the old one from the Muppets. See him sitting now upstairs. Okay, so we're talking about second. You should have added a second.
Yes, it's in seconds. See, this is why the units were important, because I forgot.
Yes. And then
it did not take 4 minutes to load. Like, it took 4 seconds.
And a cached version.
Yeah.
So was the caching involved? I don't know. It's,
wow, this is so beautiful, Mark.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Okay, nice.
All right, next up.
This is
my own face on here. Wow. I added inference for. It's actually a little broader. It's inferencing for other use cases, but like this is the one I think is most noticeable and important, which allowed us to get rid of like forcing you to annotate types when it was like known to the compiler what the type should be. So definitely reduce some verbosity. And I'm coming for this one next.
Great.
So basically, I'm coming for this next.
The type system know that this will return cloud.api response, so you're going to remove the cloud.api response and just return. Basically, it will look like a JSON, but it will be a struct.
So actually, it will be a JSON for in Mark's implementation, right?
Yes. It will be a JSON will automatically be implicitly be converted.
Not converted, but
constructed.
Mark will explain.
I will explain next time.
Okay.
When hopefully the feature is merged. There's currently a PR, so when the feature's merged, I'll boast about it. I don't know.
Okay. I have a reputation for a guy that doesn't like implicit conversion. I warn you. I will be a tough crowd.
Well, okay. Well, then I will prove it to you that it's beautiful.
Awesome, man. Okay.
Next up, this one's kind of internal, but I still wanted to mention it anyway. That we switched from to Turbo from NX for our monorepo like build tooling, and
Sky Prime.
From a performance perspective, this one is in minutes. And that's what I was confused about. So 12 minutes. It took 12 minutes, fully uncached, which happened every time basically.
Okay.
In our CI to build and unit test everything. Now with Turbo, we get a remote cache and it's pretty set up. And for most use cases, it'll take 2 or 3 minutes, depending on what you change. I mean, if you change everything, then nothing will be cached.
Remote cache, that's the big difference between.
It's a distributed remote cache, so nice. All the CI shares it. Nice. So in most cases, you'll get a couple minutes. However, our caching is very well tuned to a point where you can go full turbo, which is what Turbo calls it, when everything is cached. So there are cases like this. This happens a lot with the self-mutation workflow we have, where if your self-mutation only changes a snapshot, you don't need to do anything. So your build is fully cached.
Wow,
We'll be building upon this later, but I won't talk about future state. But having Turbo has made it a lot easier to fine tune this caching. I found it very difficult to do with NX, so I'm really happy
for
that
people who don't know Turbo is a project of Vercel.
Vercel,
right?
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, which makes it cool. More cool. So that's internal, but super important for contributor experience. I'm really happy about it. Thanks to Christian for doing basically all the work on that. Next up is a video I stole from. Rust also, or Turbo also uses Rust. Very important. Also very cool.
Implemented with Rust, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So next up, I think last time the changelog I mentioned, or I brought up that Chris added like multi-file support, like so you can bring other files. He had there was a I guess was it a rollback or something? I don't know. There was a rollback, but then brought it back and better than ever. I think so now way more integration with the language server, and it worked. I think it's pretty good. I definitely recommend you can try to start splitting out your files. Things are still being worked on. It's a big project, but overall the experience is like night and day compared to the first iteration. I think.
Yeah.
In the language server.
It's funny. I was away for vacation. I went back to the release channel, and you can see the story. Went back. Yeah. Attempt 2 went back. Yeah. Attempt 2 and say the same stuff. I've been in this a lot, but I've seen this video, and it's really awesome. So he shows in this video how basically he changes the class name that causes an issue, a compilation issue, and then he fixes it. Really
awesome. Yeah, basically having the awareness of all the files that are related or within that are related to one another. Having that knowledge in the language server is non-trivial, and Chris got it done.
Thanks, Chris. Awesome.
Super nice. Another one that went through a revert, and is the last one on this list, but is now back in, is the console being actually integrated in VSCode. I previously put a change in to just effectively I slapped the console into VSCode. It was just a browser page that pointed to our existing thing, which it functioned, but it was missing a lot. So, and this adds, I think, what we really wanted to get to, which is an actual integrated development environment. So we're making use of VS Code's UI to display. I'm realizing this is probably too small now. Anyway, well,
it looks low to me. It looks good.
In VS Code, you can see like the constructs. You can see what is usually on the side panel in the console in the full UI, but now it's not crunched up in the small window that you look at. It's now more integrated into the UI of VS Code, and the console map window is free to be styled appropriately for the expected size that it is within this UI. This needed to happen. Like we couldn't just keep using like an iframed version plainly. It was not. That doesn't scale, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't a good use of the real estate on the screen. We wanted
exactly
to be more.
And we can go further. I mean, I can imagine there would be a lot of use cases for having this better coherent linkage rather than like such a separate one. Like
right.
So we could definitely lean on it more.
It's interesting when you move forward and see this was Paul's work. Now, I mean, I'm not a person that can imagine visually stuff, but once I see it, okay, I know where this is going. Now I understand this piece of the puzzle. The other side, the right side, still needs treatments to basically look exactly like VS Code to feel natively, and but I love the work that Paul has done, and I'm excited to see where this team is going to take this further.
Yep. And that's it for the changelog.